Okay, picture this. You're deep, and I mean literally deep, in the vast subarctic boreal forests of North America. It's the absolute dead of winter. Temperatures have plummeted way below freezing. The snow is blinding, and the wind, it's howling through the barren trees sounding, well, almost like a human voice. You're completely isolated. And worse, you're starving. This right here is the birthplace of one of the absolute most chilling entities in human history. Welcome to our explainer. Today we aren't just swapping campfire ghost stories, no, we're performing a full-blown autopsy on a legend. We're going to completely deconstruct the Wendigo, peeling back the layers of pop culture to reveal a macabre reality born of ice, desperation, and honestly, the darkest corners of the human psyche.
So it's the question that just kind of lingers in the freezing air, right? I want you to lean in for a second and really think about this. Is the Wendigo real? Look, if you're hunting for a generic movie monster waiting to jump out from behind a pine tree, you're definitely looking in the wrong place. But if you're asking whether a spirit of insatiable hunger can completely consume a human being, shatter their mind, and turn them into a literal flesh-eating predator, well, the answer is a horrifying yes. The reality hidden beneath this myth is honestly way more disturbing than any fiction.
Okay, let's dive into this. Looking at the authentic roots, we find that the Wendigo, sometimes spelled Wendigo or Wetiko, actually originates from the oral traditions of the Algonquian-speaking First Nations. We're talking the Ojibwe, Cree, and Innu peoples. Now, this isn't some demon summoned by a witch in a spellbook. No, it's a monster born strictly out of human desperation, out of extreme starvation. When those brutal, unending winters hit and the food just completely vanished, the ultimate taboo, cannibalism, became this really looming, terrifying temptation. The Wendigo is exactly what happens when a human succumbs to that temptation. It's the physical embodiment of gluttony, profound greed, and get this, a literal heart of solid ice.
So, to truly dissect this entity, here's the logical flow of our autopsy today. First, we'll look at the spirit of starvation. Second, the horror of Wendigo psychosis. Third, a disease of insatiable greed. Fourth, Hollywood's misunderstood antlered monster. And finally, number 5, the true meaning of Wendigo.
All right, part 1, the spirit of starvation.
When you really dig into the folklore passed down through generations, you don't find a wild animal. The horrifying part is you realize you're looking at a twisted, ruined human being. It's described as towering up to 15 feet tall, yet completely, utterly emaciated. Its skin is this pale, sickly gray of severe frostbite, stretched so tight over its bones it literally looks like a walking skeleton. And the lips, bloody and chewed, along with gnawed fingers, because in its sheer madness, it has actually tried to eat itself. Deep inside its chest is that heart made entirely of solid ice we mentioned. But here is the most terrifying trait, the absolute genius of this legend. The Wendigo grows in proportion to its last meal. Think about that. If it eats a human, it adds that exact mass to its body, meaning it can never, ever be full. It is permanently trapped in this agonizing state of starvation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. Take a look at this 1965 painting by Ojibwe artist Norval Morceau. The essence of the legend is just so stark here. Notice the jagged teeth, the hollow eyes, and right there in the chest cavity, a literal heart of ice. This artwork perfectly captures the core of the myth. It's a human spirit that's been corrupted, marked by nature, yet still distinctly humanoid, totally isolated in the unforgiving cold. Now, it is super fascinating to see how often the internet completely mixes up the Wendigo with the Skinwalker. Culturally and geographically, they are worlds apart. The Wendigo belongs to the Algonquian tribes of the subarctic North. It represents a tragic, total loss of control. A person becomes a Wendigo out of desperate hunger, going through a permanent, agonizing physical change. They're driven by this innate, unstoppable urge. On the flip side, the Skinwalker comes from Navajo tradition down in the American Southwest. A Skinwalker makes a deliberate, calculated choice to use dark magic. They wear animal traits for personal gain, revenge, or power. So, one is a tragic monster born of starvation, and the other is a deliberate practitioner of malice. Huge difference.
Moving on to Section 2, the horror of Wendigo psychosis. Okay, so shifting from folklore to actual medical reality. Back in the early 20th century, psychiatrists documented a highly specific, culture-bound syndrome among northern Algonquian groups. Just try to imagine the crushing weight of that isolation for a second. The snow is piled high to the roof, your food supplies are entirely 100% gone. Under those terrifying conditions, some individuals suffered a complete psychological fracture. They developed this intense, obsessive fear that they were transforming into a Wendigo. They reported feeling their hearts turning to ice. They completely lost their appetite for normal food. And chillingly, they began looking at their own family members not as loved ones, but as prey.
And when you dig into the historical records, you find some incredibly chilling, fully documented cases. Like the absolute tragedy of Swift Runner. So, prior to 1878, Swift Runner was a highly respected Cree trapper, a hunter, even a guide for the Northwest Mounted Police up in Alberta, Canada. Basically, a pillar of his community. But during the brutal winter of 1878, severe starvation struck his isolated family camp. By early 1879, Swift Runner had succumbed entirely to Wendigo psychosis. In a horrific spiral of madness, he murdered and consumed his wife and 5 children. And you want to know the most chilling detail of this entire true crime nightmare? There was an emergency food supply at a Hudson's Bay Company trading post just 25 miles away. He didn't have to do it for survival. His mind had completely broken. He fully confessed to the grisly crimes and was executed in late 1879.
Which brings us to Section 3, a disease of insatiable greed.
So, the crucial point is that Swift Runner's case proves the Wendigo is a very real psychological phenomenon. But modern academics and indigenous scholars expand this autopsy even further. What if the Wendigo isn't just a physical monster out in the woods, but a psychic virus infecting modern humanity? Indigenous scholar Jack Forbes controversially but brilliantly proposed that the Wetico, or Wendigo, is actually an epidemic sickness. He literally calls it the disease of aggression, the disease of consuming other creatures' lives and possessions. Forbes argues that imperialism, exploitation, and ruthless expansion are literal forms of cannibalism. The conqueror eats the lives of the conquered. The exploiter eats the flesh of the workers. It's a really powerful perspective.
Let's take a look at how scholars outline the actual symptoms of this modern Wetico mindset. Basically, it's characterized by treating other humans and the earth merely as resources, things to be extracted. It manifests as this relentless materialism, inordinate ambition, and just totally destroying the environment for short-term profit. Think of the clear-cutting of the boreal forests, or the hunting of beavers to near extinction back in the 17th century. These actions completely disrupt the sacred balance. And the defining feature of a modern Wetico, an absolute lack of empathy. Whether in the boardroom or on the battlefield, they operate with a metaphorical heart of ice, constantly prioritizing endless growth over human life.
Now, to put that academic perspective into a real-world scale, the source text highlights a staggering number: $200 billion. This was the estimated net worth of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, mentioned in the sociological study we're referencing. Now, to be clear, scholars present this figure neutrally, not as a personal attack, but as a stark, mathematical illustration of the Wendigo system in action. To put that into perspective, the median salary of an Amazon worker is around $35,000. It would take that worker more than 5.5 million years to earn that fortune. Academics point to this as a prime example of a system that mirrors the Wendigo. It consumes endlessly, it hoards wealth far, far beyond what could ever realistically be used, and yet, the system demands continuous, insatiable growth. Just like the monster, it grows in proportion to its last meal. Let's move on to Section 4, Hollywood's misunderstood antlered monster.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is realizing how entirely Hollywood invented the monster we all think we know today. Seriously, if you play games like Until Dawn or watch movies like Antlers, you'll inevitably see a creature running around with a stag skull for a head and these massive deer antlers. Well, guess what? That antlered version does not exist in authentic indigenous roots. No way. It is a complete fabrication of Western pop culture. Pop culture took this deeply complex, sacred spiritual warning and just bastardized it into a generic movie monster to shoot at. In doing so, they stripped away all the crucial moral lessons regarding community balance, moderation, and the extreme fragility of the human mind. Honestly, it's kind of ironic. By aggressively taking a piece of indigenous culture, gutting its true meaning, and packaging it for profit, Western entertainment kind of acted like a Wendigo itself.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, the true meaning of Wendigo. As we wrap up our autopsy here, we really have to look past the Hollywood stag skulls and return to the deep, freezing woods where it all began. What is this legend actually trying to tell us? Well, the true meaning of the Wendigo is a lesson in survival, but not just physical survival, moral survival. Ojibwe scholar Basil Johnston summarized it absolutely perfectly. He said, "If all men and women lived in moderation, the Wendigo and his brothers and sisters would starve and die out." The Wendigo is a moral safeguard. It was created by the elders to teach the community that in times of extreme hardship, you simply cannot put your own survival above the group. You can't let greed consume your humanity. Moderation, respect for the earth, and community care,
Those are literally the only fires that can melt a heart of ice.
We've seen how the Wendigo is a truly terrifying monster of folklore. We've seen how it manifested as a real, tragic psychosis in the freezing wilderness. And we've explored how scholars view it as a rampant disease of modern greed. Which leaves us with one final haunting thought. As our modern world continues to clear-cut forests, hoard unimaginable wealth, and consume the earth and each other without limit, who is the real monster? Perhaps the Wendigo isn't lurking out there in the snowy woods at all. Perhaps it's staring right back at us in the mirror.